Hello, my name is Paulina Rytkönen. I will present the article Small Island Societies, Livelihoods, Challenges and Opportunities during the COVID-19 pandemic in Sweden. The article was authored by me and co-authored by Tommy Larsson Segerlind, Marcus Box, and Youssouf Merouani. The reason why we decided to conduct this study is that Sweden is a country with most islands in the world. We have more than 260,000 small islands and several archipelagos along its coastlines. Islands are key symbols of our nation and are widely used in branding and to mediate the image of Sweden. In this article, we examine how the pandemic has affected communities in small islands, and we think that our study can offer important knowledge to help us handle future crises. The main method used was phenomenology, and data is based on focus groups. We also held some open-ended interviews with representatives of local island organizations, and we held a workshop with 22 islanders. The sample contains input from 13 islands from all over Sweden, as you can see in the map in front of you. The main concepts used are institutions such as legislation, COVID regulations, informal rules, etc. Social capital, for example, the capacity of local communities to mobilize local agency and overcome challenges of the pandemic. And we also look at accessibility by looking at whether it was possible to access the islands by, for example, authorities, tourists and others, and whether island communities would access healthcare and other types of services and opportunities. So Sweden did not implement the lockdown nor mandate the use of surgical masks as it was in other parts of Europe and other parts of the world. It was based on recommendations to avoid crowding and keep 2 meters apart in public spaces. We also limited the number of people per square meter in public spaces such as shops, restaurants and other facilities. There was also a recommendation to limit the opening hours of restaurants, cafes and places of recreation. Upper secondary schools provided mixed internet-based and present-based education. Universities shifted towards internet-based education, and workplaces were urged to enable teleworking whenever possible, starting from March 2020 and stopping by 17th of February 2022. There was also a temporary prohibition of public meetings, events and gatherings, and especially in 2020 there were a lot of traveling restrictions. So what happened was that islanders limited their travel frequency to the mainland, which actually decreased in practice, in real life, the risk of people becoming infected. It seems that islands were less affected than other parts of the country. Moreover, holiday homeowners, mostly retired people, but also white-collar workers who could work from home, moved to their respective islands, and some people even settled in their boats from docks that had internet connection, everything to escape crowded cities, to stay safe from the pandemic. A rather special thing was that municipalities with islands refused to offer home care for people who are not taxed in their respective municipality. This is a topic discussed every year. However, during the pandemic, this became an important source of conflict between island municipalities and the government. COVID regulations affected island communities more severely than mainland society because regulations were not adapted or adjusted to the island reality. This also includes subsidies to enterprises because island businesses are in general small and diversified, and they could therefore not meet the requirements of COVID subsidies to businesses. But one positive institutional outcome of the pandemic is a shift in how islanders perceive second homeowners. Before, they used to see them as outsiders. Now they see them as part-time inhabitants, and therefore they are now seen as a resource for island development. This new positive attitude has contributed to a more permanent increase in part-time population on islands, and even outside the traditional summer months. Livelihoods were affected mostly in a negative way. Large conference facilities and large hotels were severely affected as all their bookings were cancelled in 2020. Small businesses and others who are often diversified, they could find other solutions and focus on the parts of their business that could generate income and put aside what did not generate an income. On the positive side is that now, this is a quote, entire communities, local associations, and businesses help each other to solve problems and to maintain and apply pandemic regulations and to avoid the spread of disease. This was said by the head of the National Association of Archipelagos in Sweden. And it illustrates how most island communities really mobilize sources. And this includes everything from helping out with home deliveries of groceries to solving problems of vaccination that society could not solve for islanders. We could see that concerning accessibility, there are distinct differences between the effects of restrictions depending on the level of economic activity in each region. Regions with less economic activity offer a lower healthcare service to islands. Moreover, I'm going to offer two examples. The first is concerning ferries. Islands that are reached with liner traffic were more severely affected than those reached with car ferries. The main reason is that liner traffic does not offer protection to passengers as everybody has to share the same space while traveling with the ferry. On the contrary, on car ferries, people travel in their own ferry. The people that take their bicycle, they are outside, so they don't risk infecting each other. And the second accessibility example, and this proved to be quite important, is the degree of internet infrastructure in each island. As you can see here, Ulvön and Harstena, they have less accessibility. You can see it through the red dots, whilst Sandhamn and Möja, the two islands in the middle, they have more high-speed internet infrastructure. Therefore, people could move there and stay there, whilst it was not possible on Ulvön nor Harstena. So in the summer of 2021, most foreign tourists returned to Sweden, which enabled many businesses to recover. Some of the positive effects of the pandemic that remain even today are, for example, a stronger local cooperation, but also a higher consumer base for local grocery stores, as the benefits of teleworking have been discovered by second homeowners and by employers. Therefore, grocery stores have more people to sell to. They are able to get better prices and offer more service to their customers. So, in In conclusion, we see that the focus on responses rather than on challenges by highlighting social capital, institutions, and accessibility has offered a deeper understanding on how island communities respond to crisis. Accessibility needs to be furtherly conceptualized, and this is especially important concerning digitalization. How far can we go with digitalization? How can digitalization enable new business models that can give more space and more room for maneuver for island communities and for island businesses? We also identified the need for more studies on how local consensus can be achieved, about how local cultures play in favor or against development or response to crisis, and how this fosters the creation of bridging and bonding social capital. So thank you so much for your attention.